the secular state interfering in the affairs of only the Hindus. They do not interfere with anyone. Whereas in Article 25, the freedom of conscience and religion is granted uniformly to all. Secondly, the term that is used in the Constitution is that everybody shall have freedom subject to so many restrictions. Well, shall have the freedom to practice, profess, and propagate. Now, my question always has been to the governments who do this, how do you ensure that the persons who are in charge of a temple or who are made in charge of the temple are in consonance with these three objectives? Are they going to propagate? Are they going to profess? And are they going to practice? I have seen officers getting appointed as chairman of these committees, and they've never done a puja in their house. They neither have astha, nor do they have any other, they are not neither karmakandi, nor they are jnanamargi. In fact, they are essentially what we can call that they suffer from the disease called secularitis. And I speak as 35 years of experience in the IAS. Okay. Then, of course, that question that you brought up about the sampradayas, that the sampradaya rights have essentially become minority rights. Please advise us and enlighten us with your experience in litigating and succeeding in those litigations. What are the takeaways from those litigations which we can utilize in the litigation that we are going to join, or we ought to join in the latest takeover attempts? Also, do please tell us what are the loopholes in the judgment in Uttarakhand. In fact, I had read the submissions, and I myself felt that the submissions that were made by Dr. Swami's team were probably weak. So you have studied those judgments extensively. So please do advise us on these 3 or 4 counts.
Okay, you've given me a lot of agenda here. Coming to professing, practicing, and propagating. Now, if we may take a little time,
yeah, sure.
An average Hindu, he's not very keen on professing. He's a Hindu. I'm talking about average people, ordinary Hindus. They want to style themselves secular wherever possible, and if they are in the company of people of other religion, they don't even want to mention their Hindu names. And if at all they profess, they look at each side and then see who they are, and then they profess. They profess within their houses, they profess within a temple. There too, sometimes they are not clearly professing. Practicing, now if you are under government control, your ability to practice is curtailed. Is definitely curtailed. Government interferes in so many things. It lays the budget. It tells you how to do a ritual these days. In fact, Tamil Nadu is infamous in forcing the temples to celebrate the death anniversary of a former or late atheist chief minister. He was not only an atheist, he called for the burning of the Saivite and Vaishnavite texts, including Ramayana. His death anniversary is celebrated, is observed in temples, and Annadan is made in his name every year on 3rd February. So your practice is overturned, curtailed, derailed, everything. Propagation is probably the most important thing. If you are practicing a dharma, you should also have shishyas who practice it, or your very own shishyas. They should be able to be propagated in the right way and celebrated. And now, with government control, propagation is almost nil. There are only very few places where a temple can run a TV station, like Tirupati, because they get extraordinary income. They are doing it. But 20-25 temples in South India, and another 40 temples in North India can run their own channels, their own propagation, their own publications, etc., etc. But it's not done. Puri Jagannath temple had 40,000 acres. Where are they? Without artha, you cannot practice dharma. Your source of artha is curtailed, it is closed. If at all it trickles, it is taken away. So today, Hindus write under Article 25 to profess, practice, and propagate is definitely diminished. Now, coming to the Article 26, as I already said, this has now become a minority right. Hindus have to prove they are a denomination. Now, first of all, what is denomination? The term denomination. It is a Western term mainly to denote church and church-oriented institutions. Our Honorable Supreme Court in Shirur Mutt case have taken the definition of the term denomination from an Oxford Dictionary of 1897. The judgment came in 1954, but they took the dictionary meaning of 1897. And there are 5 meanings. The 5th meaning they took, of the 5th meaning, they took only half. A collection of people classed by the same name, they ignored. Now, if you take Ayyappa temple, a collection of people classed under the same name, then Sabarimala will be a denominational temple. Shirur Mutt ignored it. The Constitution Bench in Sabarimala judgment, they also ignored it. In fact, they said, you are not a denomination. Yes, I'm not a denomination, but I'm a sampradaya. In 1897, the Parliament adopted the Hindi version of the Constitution, and the Hindi version says, Prati ek dharmik sampradaya, every religious denomination. Nothing will be left out. Every, Prati ek dharmik sampradaya, kisi anubad. Now, why are they denied? I am an Indic religion, I am a Jain, or I am a Shaivite, or I am a Vaishnavite. And if I go before a High Court or a Supreme Court and I say, treat me as a sampradaya and guarantee me the fundamental religious and administrative rights, which Article 26 is guaranteeing every other religion. The Shiites are having it, the Sunnis are having it, the Catholics, the Protestants, the Amish, the Jews. But if you are a Hindu means you are, then Jains also come in. Jains are suffering a lot because of the classification of Hindus. They are temples. They are not able to, manage themselves without interference. So, 1897 definition, the Supreme Court is clinging on to it. And more and more restrictions came to the definition. While every fundamental right got expanded, the right to life, right to liberty, everything got expanded, the right to managing your own affairs in religion and administering your properties and your institution has become more and more constricted. You were talking about IAS officers. Supreme Court in Shirur Mutt judgment said every matt is a denomination, is a religious denomination. Now, 10 years ago, a Mathadhipati passed away, and there was a little fight between who will be the next Mathadhipati. So, what the government did is, they denied both of them the stature of Mathadhipati. They appointed the assistant commissioner of the region as the Mathadhipati. Now, will that fellow will come in his pants and shoes and sit there and in a yogic posture, and will he ordain his shishyas of the Matha? What does he know about that sampradaya? Forget he practicing anything at home. How is he qualified to be the in-charge Mathadhipati?